Hello, my name is Nicholas Fahet, and this presentation is called Pitching-Related Risk Factors that Influence Shoulder and Elbow Injuries in Youth Baseball Pitchers. This presentation will explore the risk factors that are responsible for the recent nationwide increase of injuries among youth baseball pitchers. The intention is that the audience learn more about the causes of these types of injuries in hopes that youth baseball players, parents, and coaches can work together to prevent them from happening. The recent increase in the incidence of shoulder and elbow injuries among youth baseball pitchers can be attributed to risk-prone activities that include pitching in games without a pitch count, pitching multiple times a day or on consecutive days, pitching year-round for more than 8 months out of the year, or pitching when a player is experiencing pain or fatigue. Knowing the causes of these injuries informs coaches and parents about the best ways to prevent them from happening to young players. One might be shocked to hear that serious shoulder and elbow injuries have increased 5-fold since 2000. Serious elbow injuries are so much more common these days that the term Little League elbow has been coined by the medical establishment to describe this type of overuse injury. Here are some statistics that might be surprising. According to a study by Schwab and Strand, the number of teens having Tommy John surgery on their elbow has quadrupled in the last 20 years. More than half of those surgeries are performed on youth baseball players between the age 15 and 19 years old. Similarly, the prevalence of shoulder injuries among youth baseball players is also on the rise. A study by Matsuura found that the rate of youth baseball pitchers being treated for labrum tears has increased over 125% in the last decade. According to a study by Yang, the injuries are so common that a quarter of youth baseball players ages 9 to 12 and almost half of those ages 13 to 15 report having shoulder pain during the baseball season. With such an increase in baseball-related injuries among youth, it is important to figure out what the causes are. Research has found that the vast majority of elbow and shoulder injuries suffered by youth baseball players are due to risk factors that lead to overuse. Pitch volume is a significant factor that contributes to elbow and shoulder injury among players. Too many pitches during a game or pitching in multiple games on a given day puts a lot of stress on an already fatigued arm. Even when not pitching, playing a fielding position like catcher, where there's a greater demand on overhand throwing, contributes to the overuse of a young athlete's arm. Failing to get the proper rest adds to the cumulative fatigue that youth baseball pitchers experience. As a result, pitching in game, despite arm tiredness or pain, is a well-established contributor to the overuse of injuries among youth baseball players. So far, this piece has examined an epidemic of youth pitching injuries and the risk factors that cause it. But what are some proposed steps that can help prevent such injuries? Players must adhere to strict pitch counts during games. Tournaments should follow the universally accepted guidelines for per-game pitch counts. Coaches should be aware of a player's pitch count from inning to inning to avoid overuse. Parents should be responsible for protecting their children from pitching too much. Pitching for multiple teams or in multiple leagues should be disallowed. Pitchers should also be banned from playing catcher on the days that they're not pitching to limit the amount of stress on a young arm. It is also important to allow a young pitcher's arm to rest between outings and in the off-season. The Pitch Smart program established by the Major League Baseball and USA Baseball requires 4-day rest between every 80-pitch outing as a rule of thumb. The same program also recommends at least 4 months of non-overhand throwing to allow all young players' arms to rest between seasons. This presentation has attempted to explain how the recent increase of incidence of shoulder and elbow injuries among youth baseball pitchers can be attributed to risk-prone activities that include pitching in games without a pitch count, pitching multiple times in a day or in consecutive days, pitching year-round or more than 8 months out of the year, or pitching when a player is experiencing pain or fatigue. Knowing the causes of these injuries informs coaches and parents about the best ways to prevent them from happening to young players. Baseball is known as the national pastime, and it is played by millions of youth across the country. Despite the statistics that show an alarming increase in serious elbow and shoulder injuries among players, there are some straightforward recommendations that go a long way toward protecting young arms from sustaining damage. By following strict guidelines about how much and when to pitch, youngsters can play the sport they love longer and play ball with far less risk of serious injury. Thank you.